Good morning, teachers and peers. Today I am here to discuss the impacts of rising sea levels on the critically endangered far eastern curlew. This species is in danger of becoming extinct unless we can follow critical conservation protocols on a local and international scale. Queensland's sea levels are estimated to rise between 21 and 27 centimetres by 2050, with a global increase predicted to rise a further 70 centimetres by the end of the century, and will likely submerge more than 20% of coastal wetlands worldwide. This is a devastating prediction, with populations already declining by 5.1% annually and a disappointing estimated total decline of 63.6% over 3 generations. Moreton Bay is one of the most significant habitats for the species and is in fact a Ramsar listed site under the EPBC Act, which supports approximately 5,000 of the global population of just over 35,000 far eastern curlews. Rising sea levels specifically impact the availability of favourable stopover sites, including intertidal mudflats, which are critical for their extensive migration along the East Asian Australasian Flyway. Artificial habitats have been recently implemented in Baroba Island off the coast of Queensland in hopes of boosting population numbers. Floating roosts proceed with the tides and rest along sediment on low tide and float on high tide, providing far eastern curlews the crucial roosting and feeding space necessary for survival. By implementing floating roosts, this will allow far eastern curlews to conserve their energy for their 12,000 kilometre migration back to their feeding ground in the Northern Hemisphere. Figure 6 shows the high tide mark predicted in 2050. All of the natural feeding habitat, roosting habitat, and nesting habitat will be gone. Salt marshes, a favoured habitat of far eastern curlews, would naturally migrate inland. However, reductions in the area due to human prevention of rising sea levels has made this near impossible. Sea walls have been built to protect infrastructure such as homes. However, this has also prevented natural landward migration of salt marshes, which provide important nesting grounds for the species. Rising sea levels restrict feeding areas on the sand flats, forcing the species into denser, higher concentrations, where there is less food from excessive foraging from other waders. Rising sea levels have been driven by human-induced climate change and can be understood that thermal expansion is responsible for about 1/3 of the global sea level rise in the past century. Rising sea levels is causing a bottleneck effect, which is a sudden decline in population flow and is triggered by small amounts of scattered habitat loss. Habitats along the EAAF are shrinking from a combination of factors such as aquaculture industry, growing human populations, and rising sea levels, resulting in a severe population decline in far eastern curlew numbers of up to 63% in Australia and 80% worldwide. Far eastern curlew is a population on the brink of extinction unless the local and international conservation efforts are strictly upheld. The LOC has recently removed an overwhelming 110 kilometres squared of shorebird habitat. Conservation plans are being developed to adapt change, predict shifts in habitat, and assess the impacts of rising sea levels in far eastern curlews' feeding and roosting grounds to ensure that there is a future with them in it. Far eastern curlew's survival is not just about protecting a single species, it is a reminder to preserve the integrity of the coastal ecosystems and maintaining the ecological balance of the EAAF. We can donate to conservation organisations such as BirdLife Australia. Our donations will help support urgent action required to save far eastern curlews as they currently face extinction. We can also take part in the 2025 Aussie Bird Count campaign. This helps BirdLife Australia track trends in local bird populations from year to year, as well as providing a snapshot of bird diversity across the country and contributing to conservation efforts to collect local data. Just 20 minutes in your backyard will ultimately help protect birds such as far eastern curlews and their natural habitat.